Streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app, Nassau, Bahamas. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
Good morning and welcome to Guardian Radio AM. Of course, today is Monday, finally. Monday, December 29th, and it's a little after 11 o'clock in the morning. Once again, this is C.A. Newry, and I shall be your host for the day. Actually, later on in this show, I plan to have some kind of open line. I want to talk about Junkanoo. I want to do a SWOT analysis on Junkanoo, on what went right, what went wrong, what we could recommend to make it better. What is needed, some things that you witness at the parade that you say, man, right? That you want the listening audience and the powers that be to say, hey, this is my opinion on that. We can have time for that. I also want to have some commentary on me. And as a medical, I can look for the right definition for that. But I want to have a conversation on that because I have a friend who transitioned recently, and I want to pay a brief tribute to him. But before all of that, I have in studio Miss Dwaynisha McGregor. I'm excited to have her in studio, actually. She is from the Youth in Crisis Mapping Project, where she's a project manager, and I'm going to find out some more details on what exactly does that mean. What is this Youth in Crisis Mapping Project? It's a big project that being sponsored, I think it's being sponsored internationally right here in the country, right? Basically trying to map out what is needed for the Bahamian youth, like when they're in crisis and what we could implement. But I'm going to have her explain that in detail, right? But without further ado, I'm going to have, like I said, Dwaynisha McGregor. I'm introducing her. She's going to give a narrative on how the project came about. And then we're going to move on to what is the project and the objective, the mandate, and how can we, the public, assist in making this project come into fruition, especially organizations, because she's going to be targeting a number of youth organizations to partner with her. So I'm going to go through all of that and tread out one or two conversations from that. Welcome again, Ms. McGregor.
Thank you. I am glad to be here. My name is Dwaynisha McGregor, and I'm working on this project. A little bit of background on why this project is. So I have always been very passionate about mental health and the importance of us as a country, not only talking about and addressing mental health, but also being sure that there are the necessary things in place to be able to support individuals that are going through mental health crisis. So this project is looking at youth organizations, key people that are supporting youth that have significant social, emotional, behavioral challenges, particularly youth between the ages of 5 and 20 who may have been a part of the welfare system because of whatever issues, family issues, trauma within the family, but also students that may be having social emotional challenges that would have been part of school and have ended up in juvenile systems or have received some sort of punitive action. And so this project is really going to help us to understand what is already out there, who is doing the work of providing resources and support to these young people, and then also what are the gaps that exist. So want to know what's out there, but also what isn't out there, what is not being done, and how can this group particularly be supported a little bit better. And then also understanding this will also help organizations to be able to collaborate and other people to know what resources and access is out there for those that need it.
So let me get this straight. You are concentrating on youth that are at risk?
Yes. So youth at risk. So they would be, those that are having significant social, emotional challenges that would have resulted in them being a part of some sort of social system that we have here.
And you use the word gap. What do you mean by gap?
By gap, I just mean the areas of support that are not available, the areas of needs that these young people may have that may not be addressed by the organizations that are out there or that are being addressed, but we just don't know who's doing what. Sometimes what I find in the country is that there can be various organizations doing similar work, but a lot of times these organizations exist in silos. And so you don't really know unless you know. And so doing this work help us to know what is out there, who is doing what, who is doing it well, and who's supporting youth in different areas. So mental health, but also holistically. So character development, who are they becoming and how are they gaining access to the resources and tools that would be able to assist them with that.
And the project is called Youth in Crisis, and I understand what crisis is. And you said it's a mapping project, and you went to in detail saying you want to find out what is out there. Is that what you mean by mapping?
Absolutely. So mapping just helps us to be able to pinpoint exactly where those organizations are, who those people are, the kind of services they provide across different levels. So an organization may be assisting a youth at the individual level, so dealing directly with that youth, being able to provide them with support directly. But they also may be assisting families, so that's another level of support. They may be pointing them to different organizations, so that's a different level of support. So mapping just helps us to clearly see the picture of who is providing these services, what kind of services they're providing, and what other areas need to be further supported.
Is this a government-funded project? I want to know who is piloting this, who's pushing this this project.
It is not a government-funded project. It is funded by a private donor.
Okay. If private, and forgive me for this, is it private donor locally or is it international body? Okay.
Well, both. So they are local. They do have a local organization here, but they also are an international body.
Okay. And their goal, like I'm going to just recapping, is trying to map the various organizations who are giving support to youth in general, male and female.
Yeah, that would
who
be
are at risk.
Absolutely. That would be my goal. So the funding organization does not have a say in the project apart from providing funding for the project. But the outcome and the goal of the project and all that the project entails is really guided by the way that we execute this work.
Okay. You mentioned that there are a number of organizations who may be doing work assisting youth, item that support, but they are operating in silos, right? And there is a need. You also mentioned there's a need to know who all is doing what. So if you can refer people to this, I assume, right? Walk me through how your project is going to get all of these organizations, these youth organizations that already exist, right, to be not say working under one umbrella, but could be communicating and partnering with each other.
It's just about getting people to talk to one another. Sometimes organizations have a tendency to work alone and guard an idea, but it's so important that people know who's doing what and what they have access to. Especially, I think we owe it to the Bahamian public and mothers and fathers who are having to assist and help young people to be able to say these are the things that are available to them and know exactly how those needs can be met. So one of the ways that we hope this project works well, one of the ideal outcomes that would come from this project is if people do begin talking to one another, organizations do begin to say, hey, this is what we do very well, but I know that there's another organization out there that does this thing very well, and this is exactly what you need. And they can be able to point one another to each other. So that would be one of the ideal outcomes from this project.
For the listening audience who's intrigued about what you're saying, but still not understanding if you're meaning them, right? They said, it sounds like me, but I'm not sure if she's meaning me, that she wants to get information about me. What type of organizations are you looking for or targeting to be a part of this overarching project?
So community level organizations, grassroots organizations, you can be a registered nonprofit organization or not. So it would be churches, schools, nonprofits, or people who are just doing the work of providing this support. And so if you fall under this umbrella, then I'm definitely speaking to you. One of the ways that we would want to be able to collect this information and collect this data is by doing surveys as well as doing interviews with key persons that are part of this kind of work.
You mentioned schools. Each school have a guidance counselor program. So that's the type of organization who should reach out and say, hey, my school do guidance counseling, and these are the things that we do for at-risk youth.
Yes.
And when I say at-risk youth, are you talking about violence, or are you talking about home life, or are you talking about food security? What do you mean by at-risk youth?
It could be all, because students enter the system for different reasons. And a lot of times, the social and emotional challenges that we witness in young people, a lot of the behavioral challenges that we witness in young people, if you sit down and talk with them, you would recognize that it stems from somewhere. Sometimes it's environmental, sometimes it's peer pressure. And environmental being that maybe there is food insecurity in the home, and they have to consider alternative ways to be able to support their families, which robs them of their childhood a little bit. And so a lot of the times, a lot of the issues that we see young people have behaviorally, socially, emotionally, is as a result of those environmental factors. So it's all interconnected.
So what about groups like Royal Ambassadors, Boys Brigade, Girls Brigade, Brownies? Are they part of this? Should be a part of this organization also?
They definitely are doing the work. So they could be an organization that we speak to as well. As long as you're working with youth and you're supporting them in some way in their emotional, social, behavioral development, we would love to speak with you about the work that you do.
And you mentioned earlier registering and registry, right? And I'm assuming that your organization is, whilst they're mapping, is trying to create a register, a broad register of the wider Bahamas, inclusive of the Family Islands?
Absolutely. So we do want, it's not, I won't say it's a formal register, but we are creating a list of organizations that are out there and doing the work, including the Family Islands. As a matter of fact, a member of our team will be traveling to Abaco, Eleuthera, and Grand Bahama to do interviews, but we will survey from every island. So we want to make it holistic. It's not Nassau-centric. We want to understand what's happening in the Bahamas.
You mentioned a team. So you do have a team that's working with you. You're not working by yourself or anything. And explain exactly, you started to, but explain exactly what your team will be doing.
So our team consists of admin as well as researchers, research assistants, and the team would be responsible for speaking with organizations, connecting with persons on the ground, and gathering information, doing interviews, sharing the survey, collecting the data, analyzing the data, and making sure that those organizations that have participated receive the results from all of this work, because we don't want to hoard the information. We want to make sure that the information is accessible not just to us, but obviously to the public and those that may need it and can use this information.
So all of the partners that will get access to the information and the research that you have, and the broader public in general, and the government too?
Whoever wants access to this information can have access to this information. We also plan to do a paper. It's not an academic paper. It's a short paper listing the organizations, the kinds of support, showing the diagrams and the mapping and all of the information that we would have found out as a result of this project. And so whoever wants access to that information would be able to have that.
On Guiding Radio, they have an advertisement that says 1 in 4 people of the Bahamas are having some kind of challenges regarding food security. And since we have the majority of our population is young, right, fall under youth, I'm assuming that 1 out of 4 means young people,
Absolutely,
right? 25% of young people.
I was reading something by, I think it was the United Nations, their latest report. They said that the young people make up the majority of the world at the moment. I think it's over 65%. Over 65% of people in the world are youth, not any other group, are youth. And so I think it's just important that a lot of what we do begin to target young people. How can young people be supported? How can young people be given access to different things that give them lives they have reason to value? How can we make sure that they are ready? Because they are going to be the new adults at some point. So yeah, I think it's very important. And I do think in that 1 in 4 number that it would include young people and their families.
Have you started the mapping as yet? Because I want to know how to get in contact with you, how people can say, let me call right now and find out more information about the mapping to get registered and say, well, this is what I do to show support for youth. Has that started, and how do I get in contact with you?
So we do have a short listing that we've started. The project will really and officially begin in January, but that does not stop anyone from contacting me or reaching out to me if they are interested, want to learn more, have questions that you want to ask, need additional information about the project. I can be contacted on my phone. You can call me at 822-1566. You can also send me an email at dmcgregor, DMCGREGOR, at pivottodata, PIVOTTODATA.com.
You know, you call a pivot to data, and I not sure what pivot to data is. That's just the name of.
Pivot to Data is the name of my consultancy. It's a business that seeks to aid organizations in building programs that have impact and measured impact. One of the ways that I approach my work and that informs a lot of the work that I do is, one, does it help people to live lives they have reason to value? And two, can it be measured? Can impact be traceable? And can impact be replicated elsewhere? So that's what we do. And
I love social media. I'm more social media instead of website. Is there any social media present as yet?
Not as yet. A little bit more in the new year. But if you wish, you can follow me and look for me under my name, Dwanisha McGregor. That's DWANEISHA. McGregor is the last name. Or you can look up Pivot to Data, PIVOTTODATA.com. You can also look at us on Instagram, LinkedIn, and yeah, I think that's about it.
And how long will this project be? The start, you say January, you get starting with a bang. It already started, but January is the start with a bang. But how long is this project? Just researching and then the development of creating a paper that you put the data to people. How long this will be?
2 years.
2 years. Okay,
Yes.
Go ahead.
It's a 2-year project. Sometimes when you tell people that, they're like, 2 years. Yeah, it takes some time because you have to reach out to people. You have to talk to stakeholders. You have to really understand their story and what it is that they're saying. And we want to treat it with a measure of respect and dignity because it's a very sensitive topic and issue. So all of this, 2 years.
And I'm glad that we having data specifically for the Bahamas. Every time I'm doing research, it's every American, and always American oriented.
That gets me so. Listen, don't get me started because I like to see what the UN has to say, what OECD has to say. I like to see what international reports are regarding different industries and different sectors, specifically regarding mental health and social systems, etc. And when I look in those reports and I look for data about what's happening in the Bahamas, it's usually not there because it's not available. So I agree. We do need more data. We do need more people talking to one another and a little bit more synergy as well.
We're talking to Dwanisha McGregor, who's the project director of Youth in Crisis Mapping Project, where they will be conducting a series of interviews, organizations who do the work, of taking care of youth in the Bahamas in terms of servicing their needs, right? It's a mapping project. And I can let Dwanisha explain this part of the mapping project, because I can do my own summary, but mapping project. Explain the project one more time before we go.
Sure. So with this project, we're looking at youth in crisis. Specifically, that would be youth between the ages of 5 and 20 who are experiencing significant social and emotional challenges, behavioral challenges. And these challenges would have caused them to end up in some sort of social welfare system, child welfare, juvenile system, and receiving supports from organizations that do the work of providing them with the resources and tools that they need. So we're looking at the key organizations, looking at the key people within the community. So that's schools, that's churches, grassroots, looking at these organizations and being able to see who is doing what across the island of the Bahamas, and also identifying the things that are the areas of needs that may need to be addressed for those young people.
And that's the gaps right there.
And those are the gaps.
So this is one reason why we need to map everything to identify what is the gap and say, we need this. This is lacking. Let's promote a need for an NGO to be created to fill in this gap and get sponsorship too, right?
Yeah, and then maybe nothing needs to be created. You know, maybe people are doing the work, but people just don't know what's available and what's out there. So this also allows us to say, hey, this is actually available. Someone's actually doing this and they're doing it very well, but we just haven't heard of these people. And being able to connect people to one another who's doing the work already.
Yeah, and I thank you very much for doing this, by the way. There is a need to appreciate what we are doing for young girls who are at risk. Absolutely. What we are doing for young boys who are at risk. Absolutely. You know, sometimes we tend to forget about the young boys in general, but just to know that there are programs existing, and then to create a specific program for a particular type of individuals or youth, that's always good.
Yes.
So we're going to get your number again as we move towards a commercial break. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
To, Miss McGregor. But give out your phone numbers and your email contact for Mamad. Again, this is Miss Dwaynisha. I pronounced that name right?
Dwaynisha.
There you go. Dwaynisha McGregor, who is the project director of Youth in Crisis Mapping Project. And give out your particulars again.
You can contact me at 822-1566 or at D McGregor, that's DMCGREGOR at pivottodata, pivottodata.com. Thank you again.
And then thank you very much for joining me. This has been Guardian Radio AM with CA Newry. When we come back, we should be talking jungle. We can do a SWOT analysis. I want you calling. And it can't be me you talking, because I tend to talk all kind of strange things. But you call in and tell me what you see, what we need to improve. And then I say I want to give a tribute to my friend, elderly gentleman who has transitioned. He did it a different way. And I'm not sure if that's something that we do in the Bahamas. Anyway, we'll be right back.
They'll call you in for your x-ray shortly.
That's why they call it a waiting room. You won't have that problem at Fourth Terrace Diagnostic Center or Imaging at Grosvenor. We never schedule multiple appointments, so you'll be in and out in no time. And if your initial screening reveals a concern, our radiologist can conduct an alternative screening right then and there. Call 328-8157 to schedule an appointment at Fourth Terrace Diagnostic Center or Imaging at Grosvenor today.
Love the show? Want to give your support? Become a sponsor today. Call 302-2300 for our rates and packages. That's 302-2300. Become a sponsor on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
For fast, reliable, and impactful printing services, look no further. Let Printmasters bring your masterpiece to life. We stand by our quality products that is second to none. Our affordable pricing and friendly, efficient staff makes Printmasters the ultimate choice for all your printing needs. We can deliver any type of printing services, from banners to booklets to business cards. You name it, we can print it.
Let Printmasters bring your masterpiece to life.
Located in the Nassau Guardian Building, telephone 302-2361.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app, Nassau, Bahamas.
And welcome back to Guardian Radio AM. One of my friends, an elderly gentleman, someone I played chess to, he's man to me, about 70, 80 odd. He transitioned over the holidays. He reached out to me, and because he doesn't live here in the Bahamas, he lives abroad. But when he does come down to the Bahamas, he say, "Hey, Newry, you want to play a game of chess?" And I said, "I don't like playing chess, but because you ask, I'll play chess." And he used to beat up on me in terms of playing chess. He was a good chess player. He's an academic. He's a smart gentleman. He's an intellectual, right? Writes several books, always talking politics and sociology and stuff like that. So when he texted me from Canada and said, "Newry, I'm dying." I said, "What you mean you dying? I just saw you last year. What you mean you dying?" Said he was diagnosed with cancer, stage 4 or whatever it is. And so I was caught up aback because I wasn't communicating with him as much as I should. You know how we men, I just say good morning, Merry Christmas, or good morning, Happy Birthday, or I say good morning, blessings to you, or send it forward. No real communication. And we men need to communicate better with our elders, our seniors, and we need to communicate better with our friends, right? So when he told me that he is taking that journey, he's transitioning, and I didn't know what to say. So I said nothing, right? And said, "So what's next?" And this is where the story comes in. He said that he is contacted MAID, MAID, and I'm trying to find that. It's a assisted thing. I just saw it just now. MAID, see there. It is in Canada. It is legal nationwide throughout Canada. It's called MAID. And I'm trying to get a write-up for you right now to read what MAID is. Okay. I see it right here. So there it goes. Assisted suicide via a hospital is usually discussed under the term medical aid in dying. MAID. Medical aid in dying. It says legal, and this is how it goes in the hospital, right? So doctors prescribes or administers medication that allows a patient to end their life. It is typically limited to adults with severe, incurable illness who are experiencing intolerable suffering. The patient must usually be mentally capable and make the request voluntarily, often more than once, right? So hospitals may be involved in eligibility assessments by physicians, psychological or psychiatric evaluations, documentations, and consent procedures. And this write-up goes in detail on how to the person is evaluated. And of course, he lives in Canada, so it's legal nationwide in Canada. And it's called MAID, MAID, was medical assistance in dying, right? And my friend was suffering. He was in pain. And when he told me that he's seeking this option for his life, I felt betrayed. I said, "What you mean you gonna seek assistance to, in my words, kill yourself? Surely this is not Christian." So I was embattled. I was vexed. I was hurt. Say, "Man, you giving up. You can't give up. There's always hope." And I did not appreciate the pain that he was going through. I mean, like I said, it's an intolerable pain. It's not no normal pain that he was going. Remember, he's a senior man. He had a fragile body. So I had to come in grips with that, right? What would I do? Can I handle such pain, especially at that age? See, I'm a mid-life gentleman. I could bear one or two uncomfortableness. But when you get a certain age where the pain has become unbearable, surely there needs to be options just to stop the pain. So I want to give tribute to him. I remember him. He was a good man. Like I said, he's an intellectual man. Like I said, well-read. I know he even taught at the college level and abroad. Well-traveled, right? Wrote a series of books about academia and whatever so often. He shall be missed. He shall be missed. And I just want to... I told him when he crosses the river Styx, right? And if he can send word back this way, and I don't want him to haunt me or anything, but if he could send word, give me a number. Let me hit Sabas hard. He laughed at that and said, thank you, Newry. But that's about my friend. But anyway, I move on. John Canoe. This is the time you could call now and talk about John Canoe. There are a number of commentaries being circulated on what happened. I want to congratulate, commend, say kudos, to recognize, I think that's the best word, the NJC for their efforts. There were some hiccups, but there are hiccups every year with John Canoe. So this is why I'm asking for a SWOT analysis. There seems to be one or two things that are continuous no matter who manages it, right? There's delays. What is causing the delays in John Canoe? How do we solve the delays in John Canoe? What about the production, right? There were challenges in appreciating the John Canoe by watching it, wherever you watch it, from either cable or Zednet. There were times when you couldn't really hear. You couldn't really see. I like the drone thing now that you can see above. So they added that dynamic. And I wanted to have that conversation, right, on how we as a nation, not picking on the managers, the various managers, or what they did or anything, but what we can come together and recommend to say, man, for the next John Canoe Parade, the next one could be next year, January, a couple of days. What can be done to improve the January parade and by extension the December parade? That's the conversation now. Not no bullying and throwing shade on any particular organization or group. I mean, you could do that too. But the idea now is, what can we do better? There was a news report. I started on my page, and I still think a number of media groups follow my page, and they tend to take stories. Anyone who follows me understand why I say that. They tend to take stories and capitalize on it and get better stories, because I'm not a journalist. Let me repeat that. I am not a journalist. I do talk radio. I do commentary on what the journalists them say, right? I blog, right, on what the journalists them write about, right? And I do spin, or that means my interpretation on what was said. And there was a news report with Barabbas. I don't remember Quentin. What Quentin's real name is? But okay. There was a report on Barabbas where he became impassioned, where he realized that there was going to be a delay. And there's various reasons why the delay was happening. And he said he's opting, or he wanted, according to the news report, he wanted to go early, to go on Bay Street early and rush, right? Which would assist in not being any more delays or seeing the delays, right? Because the delay was now 45 minutes in between one or two groups for whatever the reasonings are. And he was not allowed. And of course, he get impassioned. And perhaps we need to hash that out on what happens when circumstances beyond those who are managing the parade control, right? What can be done? What can be done? Can we have all of the B groups, say B groups line up? I mean, I'm not sure where the B groups is B, right? Is there a side corner for B groups by itself? And can we say, we having a delay now, every B group, y'all go. Can that be an option? I saw on commentary on social media that saying we need to get these youth bands involved. The problem with that is the youth bands are in Junkanoo also. But we could commission one of two youth bands, right? Pay them. Of course, you can't have people commission them and not pay them. So this now becomes an added expense in Junkanoo. That when we realize that there's going to be a delay for whatever reason, right? We can say youth band, march onto Bay Street. You have 10 minutes, 15 minutes to assemble properly, right? And that might be a task too, because they might be all scattered all over the place, right? How do you hold the people who want to experience Junkanoo in a section where they won't be able to experience Junkanoo because they don't know when to go? They call at a whim. But we can have youth bands and say, hey, go and perform. I'm not sure of any kind of talking jokes comedians can fit into Junkanoo, because I'm not sure if Bahamians come for that. They come to be entertained. They come to watch things. But as we march forward, move forward, we need to come up with concepts. We need to now recommend things to the powers that be and say, hey, I understand we have some problems here and there, right? But this is what I think can fit in this problem. One other recommendation is move Junkanoo all together. See, Kermit, look at me all together. What you mean move Junkanoo all together? It just might be time. We might have to invest in another stadium, get the Chinese to build it, right? They need workers. Get the Chinese to build some kind of auditorium type thing where people pay, can't be free. You can't be watching Junkanoo for free no more because we got to pay for the auditorium back. $10, $25 to enter this dome. And then you watch the parade. I think they do it in Brazil. They have a carnival dome. But I'm not sure if Bahamians want that because Junkanoo is a street parade. And if it's a street parade, it got to be on the street, right? That's why it's called a street parade. We just need to now understand how to manage a street parade, right? So even though I recommend a dome, there's a number of people say, don't, this dome idea, no, I don't like it. They don't like it because it's a street parade. And this is what we trying to keep. Some people are saying that Junkanoo is too commercialized, that we try to make it a tourist product, whether it's a germane product, cultural product. Delays should be expected because it takes time for the Junkanoos to commune with the spirits, my word, to come into that trance, my word, to zone out, to prep the drums, to get excited, to go on Bay. And if there is a spiritual aspect that these Junkanoos have to go through, connecting to their ancestors, then one must anticipate the delays. And those who come to spectate need to appreciate that they can't rush now. They're communing. And if you can't appreciate that, then you have to watch it on TV, on the rerun. So there are people who are saying that you need to appreciate that it might take half an hour for us to get ready, to get mentally charged. This is something that we need to discuss. This is where people like Nicolette Bethel, what she's do? Archaeologist? No, not archaeologist. Anthropologist, who study the culture of people, right? Perhaps we need those people, anthropologists, I think that's what we call them. Perhaps we need these people to explain Junkanoo to us, the culture of it. I've been reading some text that we never had a parade on time since what did gentleman name again? Kermit. What did gentleman name who had all the junk news coming out on time? You remember his name? The name I just gone blank. The former politician, Minister of Education, Jeff Lloyd. Thanks very much, Kermit. They said we never had a junk canoe parade that went on time ever. JCNP would say something different, but Bahamian people say something different. We've never had a junk canoe parade that went out on time in terms of there's no lapse between groups since Jeff Lloyd. Something that Jeff Lloyd did, but I know junk canoes like him no more and say he don't want to participate, right? Something he did to make people accountable, that they were on time and they rushed. And perhaps we need to have conversations with him again to say, what did you do the last time? And then find out if the junk canoes are prepared to do that. I have a text here that says, I gave a suggestion for a proposed built stadium at the sporting complex, 5,000 seat maximum structure to replicate the acoustics of junk canoe. The structure resembles a Bay Street. You're building a whole town. What do you mean the structure resembles Bay Street? But is designed for a street parade with multiple entrances for groups. A People's Rush stays on Bay. You can't have two different parades. You either have it at the stadium or you don't have it at the stadium, right? This person won 3, 4, 5 different things. A People's Rush stays on Bay because I don't know if you've noticed, but more and more of Bay Street experience is being reserved for the rich. The ancestral junk canoe ship has sailed. And this texter is saying that junk canoes change. They need to move on to some kind of stadium complex. They want to build a stadium complex for 5,000 people, right? And then say build it like Bay Street, make it resemble Bay Street. So I assume build buildings, right? This sounds pricey. This sounds pricey. We definitely need to have the Chinese come and assist us with that, right? But we did it at a stadium and it didn't work out. Junk canoe doesn't sound good at the stadium at all. And anyone who rushes or who went there and listened to the stadium know that don't work. That's not an option, right? So I'm hoping that they have another suggestion other than going to the stadium because that didn't work out. Let's see what this texter says. Say the stadium will have a facade that resembles Bay Street. I just picturing that he's saying that they can be building buildings, right? No buildings, just a facade to contain the sound. That sounds like buildings, texter. Because if you put wood, it ain't gonna be the same. It have to be stone buildings. So I don't see it. And they don't build. If you want to have that echo, it have to be a building. So I don't see it. One way to stop the delays is to penalize groups whose members take their big trucks and deliberately block the road, causing other groups to not be able to enter the parade route. That was a complaint. A number of groups said that a particular junk canoe group, as they got their venture towards Bay Street to offload their big costume, they parked their trucks. And these, small trucks, these are the big trucks, Mack trucks. And they park it, and there's a number of junk canoes who couldn't get around it with their costume, right? And that caused a delay. And we need to investigate that. And someone needs to come back and say directly to the Bahamian people, this is one of the reasons for the huge delay. Nobody could get around the big trucks that was parked on Bay Street. All of the big costume had to stay there. And so therefore, it had to wait an hour before the next group come through. If that happened, someone needs to say that's happened. Someone needs to explain what happened so it doesn't happen again, right? They said, this text says, can we innovate? There are all kinds of modern buildings materials to contain sound. How do we build soundproof rooms, for example? This person, I assume, is some kind of construction engineer because they good, right? They want to produce some type of buildings, some type of facade that they're familiar with, and they want to put it on to Junkanoo. This text says, any cleaning company is contracted to clean Bay Street after each parade. I always thought it was Ministry of Works. The text says, I'm at work downtown and the scents and appearance are distasteful. World travelers are also traversing this area. Bourbon Street in Louisiana has a similar parade like other places, but they have a program to wash the streets before the next business day. And I appreciate the text because I saw a party that happened at the stadium recently. It's a private party. They assume they rented out the stadium. And I happened to pass there, right? And the garbage that was left by this concert that they had there. Mind you, the people who managed the stadium said, we're coming the day after. But who deals with me seeing the sight of the garbage that morning? That had an impact on me. That should be cleaned the night off. You hire people, say, hey, when this concert over, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, you start cleaning. To telling me that 12 o'clock noon the next day, the garbage still there, but we sending somebody, it is a disservice to me, and especially when I paid for my taxes paid for the stadium. Someone needs to get written up. You can't have that. Can you imagine the big hotels having a function in the lobby, and they said we can keep this garbage there till tomorrow, right? and let other guests come and see it. It don't make sense. It don't make sense. So someone needs to apologize. The minister who's in charge of the stadium and had the garbage needs to tell the person who said, he's cleaning the next day. Tell him, no, stop it. This text says, good morning, sir. You can build walls around with built-in bleachers all around. I'm not sure if you know the acoustics in walls. I need a whole building to have the acoustics. I don't need a wall. I need the building itself. The wall, the sound escapes over the wall. I need to have the building, right? So how you can build a building? You need to give me an example of that, but I don't want no wall. I want the building to have the sound bounce off, right? People want to have an empty wall. But I've experienced Junkanoo twice at the stadium. And the echoing back and forth throws off the drumming. It throws off the drumming where you cannot pinpoint the beat. It's in what is the sound because it bounces from one area. Because it's a closed round area, it bounces from one building. And if you're on the right-hand side, you hear a different sound and it bounces back and forth and it just gets confusing to the musicians. I think if you haven't experienced that at the stadium, you can't speak on it. It sounds horrendous. You ain't talking about it. It's horrendous in sound. So I'm willing to move Junkanoo. I'm just saying that we need to consider whatever. We have a caller there. Kermit, let's patch the caller there. We're trying to get some SWOT analysis on what can be done. Because I agree, Bay Street still have costumes on it. It'll be in a couple of days now, 2, 3 days. And I mean, I know tourists like pick up things, but surely someone should be. Why the Junkanoo's leaving pieces? Let's go to the caller. Go ahead, caller. Guardian Radio AM.
Hi, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
Good. I'm well. Compliments of the season.
Blessings.
I hear you on the Junkanoo topic, right?
Yes, sir.
What aches me is after the parade, right? All the Junkanooers, most of them, leave their costume on the streets, right? My personal opinion, I think the results should be done after everybody has clear your costumes, and then they and who haven't clear their costumes, penalize them, take points away from them, because it looks. I drove on Bay Street after Junkanoo. I mean, the place was in a mess. It was in a mess. And Shirley Street as well.
Let me ask you a question. Would you support a Junkanoo parade that does not have any competition in it? No first, second, third, you just rush?
I mean, it should, because by doing that, the competition part of it is good, you know. And you can't be using taxpayer money, and you getting seed money, right, to clean up the mess after the parade. That's unacceptable.
I agree with you. It is unacceptable. Thank you very much, caller.
Thank you, my brother.
Yes, ma'am. But like I said, we need to have a SWOT analysis about Junkanoo in general. Find out ideas on how we can improve it, right? We may have to make a tough decision on whether we're going to move Junkanoo from Morpher Bay. People are calling for a Doom Stadium type thing. I'm not sure if these people have listened to how it sounds at the stadium now. Doesn't sound good. It doesn't work out, right? People are saying we could be innovative and create a new Bay Street someplace with empty buildings, right? So people can walk around the street, right? Some people recommend on social media that perhaps we should reverse the parade. Instead of going from west to east, change the direction from the parade to go east to west, right? Starting from where that Tribune corner name, right? That's Elizabeth Avenue, whatever the Tribune corner is, and have all those side corners, each group stationed and prep between those empty corners. So when we say you go, you could go. And when you say the next group go, you could go. Because everybody's prepping at the same time because of all these side corners. So if the Saxons are not ready to move, you go to the next corner and say, Valley, you ready? You penalize the Saxon for going late, and then Valley start. And you said, well, Warriors, if Valley is not ready, you go. Because every group would have a side corner moving from the east to the west to go. I like that idea. Perhaps I need to hash that idea out some more. But moving forward, we need to penalize some groups. You start late, that's a point right there. You start late an hour later, that's 2 points going. Right? That's the future. You feel it in your pocket. You feel it in the points. Especially when you know you win the parade and you realize you lost it because you came out late. This has been Guardian Radio AM with C.A. Newry. Have a wonderful day.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian